the phone is suffering from what I believe is it won't stabilize or it's making a noise. And so I'm assuming it's going to need a motor replacement. And that's going to come with the blue lens pre-installed, at least for these parts that I buy. And so that's going to help stop the shaking and it's going to allow it to stabilize and stop making a noise when you open the camera app. So this was an issue. And I unfortunately can't get any this is a 13 Pro Max. I can't get any parts for some reason. I couldn't find a single aftermarket camera on any of like the top like I don't know. I did some digging. I didn't really want to spend $70. That was like the cheapest I could find at the time, and I was not willing to drop that. So why not make a video on how to repair the camera itself? Saves money. It's a nice skill that you can learn. And you're learning something new, getting out of your comfort zone, and yeah, you can charge the same price to the customer, but you're making more profit, which is pretty good.
So as you see, okay.
So the phone finally turned on. I'm going to demonstrate what it sounds like. I don't know why. I'm actually an idiot, but look, bringing it close to the mic, you can hear it. This is on I believe the wide camera. Let me see. Yeah, so this is the bottom lens right here on the 1X. And then when you zoom in, that's, I believe, the telephoto, which is the top one. I don't think it's the issue. 0.5, so our ultra wide is good. Second, we switch to the wide lens, you can hear a noise, which is going to be, yep, this this one right here is our culprit. Yeah, I was a little skeptical at first. I couldn't really put my finger on something for certain, but now I have good reason to believe it's the wide. I get confused between the names. I believe it's the wide camera. You have the wide camera, ultra wide, and then telephoto, which is the one that's like super zooms pretty close or very far. Uh, yeah, and this was also a fail for. I did try replacing the lens itself because it was like all garbage and like looked water damage. Didn't seem to actually. It did help with the blur. I'm gonna have to literally take it out and see for myself. Which I'm gonna be demonstrating how to get there and dig around. You know, this is the life of a technician. You just fuck around, touch things, hit this button, see if this thing heats up, blows up. You know, your face is still intact. Okay, so first things first, I'm gonna be using a hot rework station. So I'm gonna put some type of, I don't know what you call this, heat resistance tape, I guess adhesive. I don't know what's the actual formal name for it, so just stick to that. Protect the other cameras from the heat because we're gonna be slicing through some underfill or adhesive, some glue that we gotta remove before we're able to pry out the wide camera. And I use a tool like this, like a hook. I don't want to use too much heat, but speed through this basically. So at this point, you might run into some trouble taking this off. I don't think you want to bother. I think it'll come off. Once you remove all the glue, you can just try to stick a knife and pry, and you should have success in actually prying this whole camera off. So let's give it a shot here. Just wiggle it, and boom, comes off just like that. And you do want to be careful of this part. You don't want to go. You don't want to stick your blade too deep. You just want to pry just a little bit because I believe there is something important in the center here. You don't want to scrape. So once you scrape it, you basically trash the whole camera. All the work you've done up to this point has gone down the gutter. We don't want that. We're already doing something that's very uneconomically feasible and pointless. Okay, wow, he's right here too. I'm just like here. Play around with the grips. This is giving me a lot of leverage. There you go. It's the part I'm talking about. The way you want to clean this is by getting compressed air, isopropyl alcohol, and pour it on this. Boom. The cleanest you're gonna get it. I don't know what these scuff marks or prints that are on the side are. I don't think they're scratches, but it could be like the dust that's hard printed onto it. So there's not really much we can do about that. I don't think it has any bearing on the actual functionality of the camera itself, but and I don't think it quite frankly it matters. It's more about this side. So I could have probably just done that for no reason. This is now the part where now we're gonna get to the actual motor replacement. So let's take a look at that. Do want to make sure that the point of entry, which I believe is here. Oh, wow, interesting. One was able to like these are some solder balls. I believe this is gonna cause us some difficulty pulling this open. Okay, so let's hold this tight. And so what we're gonna try to do here, so we're gonna get some flux, just a little bit. We're gonna get some low temp solder. This thing is actually cheat code, solder paste, and a syringe, dude. But God, it does not come out as easy. Okay, this should be sufficient. Might be more to be honest. A soldering pen and solder time, baby. God, fumes reducing my life expectancy for bitch ass video. It's not worth it. And no food. Yeah, so as I assumed, there's like this glue on it. Yeah, so now the actual, yep. So now that we've actually seems to have came off, so we should be able to stick a blade in here and just like boom, boom, slowly but surely pry our way in there. As you can see, And this is the separation of the motor and whatever you want to call this, just the actual like connector, I guess, because this is connected to the camera itself, contains the optical filter. There we go. That side came off easy. You want to pry your blade in between these two wedges, and you might find some resistance because there is some adhesive here. You might have to remove that, or I believe you could just literally take this apart. Let's go, make sure you go slowly and be careful. You don't want any sudden movements, especially with like microelectronics. Don't really want to pry your blade in there because there's a bunch of chips and like small components in there that you just don't want to mess with. Okay, there we go. Seems to have come off. And there you have it. Man, what the hell?
So right about this point, you really want to be careful taking off the motor. There is actually an adhesive that's stuck between the connector and the motor itself. And so the way I pried it, if you do it that way with that adhesive still stuck onto the motor, what will happen is the connector will basically come off the camera sensor itself, and then you'll have, as you can see, loose pins not making a connection with the board. And so this is a side quest. I'm going to be removing that adhesive as you can see right now, which is what you should have done before removing the motor. That way that connector doesn't come off, and see how it just comes off instantly just like that. What I'm going to have to do, unfortunately, is each lead, both on the board, the camera board, and on the connector itself, and then resolder it, which is going to take me more time. It's just going to be a waste of everyone's time, honestly. So you really want to make sure you get rid of that adhesive. Don't rush doing this process. That was my mistake when I was attempting this repair that I love. So around this point, my mic is cut off and it's not recording anything that I've said. But what I'm doing here is spraying alcohol with compressed air to remove any dust, flux, scuff marks. You know, eventually it won't prove itself to be successful. So what I will do here is grab a PCB cotton swab and manually scrub the optical filter. You want to try to get this as clear as possible. Sometimes because the compressed air is just cold in its nature, it's going to leave some sort of residue. So this is where the behind under this is the camera sensor itself, which is what you do want to preserve, and you want to make sure you don't damage, scratch, or anything. And then above it, what you're seeing right now, this blue lens is the optical filter, and this is where you want to remove any sort of residue. And so you're going to see me struggling a little bit trying to make it as perfect as I possibly can make it. Obviously, you can't get it 100% spot on, but I figure out the method and slash technique to make it as best as I can. Right here, I'm holding the motor. You literally just get this as installed with the blue lens itself, and you're just gonna literally put it in, squeeze it in, and align it with this part, the solder balls that you see on the top of it. Of course, you're just gonna make sure that it is snug in perfectly as best as you can. Then you're gonna get some flux, some solder paste, and then grab your soldering iron and make sure that you make a firm connection between those two pins. This is basically what's going to keep it insecure, the motor secured with the camera sensor itself. And this is honestly a simple repair. This is not as bad as I first made it out to seem. I'm making this voiceover after I've attempted this repair, and I've done it a couple of extra times, but this is quite easy looking back. And of course, before we install the back plate of this camera, we want to plug it back into the motherboard and test to see if it solved our issue. So going into the camera app, I'm going to observe. I don't hear any noise but around this time testing. It's able to stabilize, it seems. I'm going to pull up the camera at any moment. It's falling back, so that's why it's not actually getting a good visual, but it is for certain focusing and not making that motor noise issue that I was experiencing before. So this is a successful repair, and I know that I can further on continue with installing everything back where it needs to be. And so now at this point, going to re-solidify the connections between the camera sensor and the motor, make sure they are 100% stabilized. And since now we know that the camera is working properly, we can go ahead and reassemble everything. So I'm going to make sure that there's no flux on this backside. I'm not sure if it's important, but might as well get it out the way. Same method, isopropyl alcohol with compressed air. It's going to clear as all those smudges and make it as clear as possible. Then I'm going to put the back plate. I noticed that I didn't fully remove the adhesive, so I'm going to make sure all of it is gone so that I can put my own glue later on. Right here, I'm going to use the same adhesive I used for my back glass repair, B7000. Serves as a good adhesive. We don't need anything that's too strong, just something simple. You know, no like UV solder mask or anything like that of that sort. Simple glue, and that's going to suffice for the camera. And then we're just going to put glue on the four corners of the original 13 Pro Max rear camera socket. This is obviously for the wide camera socket, so we're just gonna put it for those four corners so that we can reattach the wide camera. And this is a successful motor replacement. And so yeah, thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this video and any other repairs you'd like me to attempt. I do experiment a lot, and I do have quite a bunch of boards and phones that come to my desk for repair, so I will be looking at more videos to make.